This YellaWood 500 Betting Picks 2024 edition of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with our promo code RACESGPN to get a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Start crushing college football and the NFL with Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITH.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'll wreck my mom to win a championship. I'll wreck your mom to win a championship.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
It refrains me from not beating the out of you right now because you ask me stupid questions. But since I'm on probation, I suppose that's improper to say as well. If you could talk about racing things, we could talk about racing things.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
Aw, baby, what day is it? It's Talladega Day, baby.
What?
What
you got?
Here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's Cody Zeeb. I'm Rod Villagomez. If you are not
some beer too, but where'd you get Michael Walter? How'd you get Michael Walter Brewing out there?
I have zero clue, dude. So, okay, long story short, we were at the store this evening going on a shopping trip because our power has been out all day, which, by the way, affected my speech, which is why the live reads are never that good anymore. But my wife goes, "Are you sure you don't want to look for something down the beer aisle?" And I was like, "Nah, I still got one that I can use. You know, I got a couple." She's like, "I think you should go look." And so I was like, "All right, fine." So we went walking down the beer aisle, and this jumped up and hit me. Michael Waltrip Brewing Company, Talladega. I could not get it for this.
Absolutely. Yeah, you have to. I mean, that's great. I'm drinking some Sam Adams Flannel Fest. Comes in their fall variety pack. It's pretty fucking good. But yeah, I've not seen the Michael Waltrip Brewing. I didn't know they're distributing all the way to California. That's pretty that's wide reach for them.
I want to read this. It says, "When the Talladega lights go down, get ready because there's a party coming to town."
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, there you go. I love it. Michael Waltrip Brewing Company, the unofficial official Talladega beer of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast today. Woo-hoo!
Well, Rod, I guess we can keep this one short. Walter says I'm on Wallace to win this weekend, 20-1. Just had a baby. Maybe I'll have some luck. Fade Kyle Larson on every head-to-head. And that's the show, folks. Have a good one. And I'll see you tomorrow for Xfinity Series picks.
I basically just hit all the recap. Then, yeah, all right, we're good. Everybody, thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys tomorrow for more. No, we definitely have a ton more to cover today. Of course, like we said.
They made us work for it this week, Rod. They've caught on to the whole top 10 at Superspeedway thing. We drug them over the coals with Zane Smith's top 10 last week. And they made us but you know, it's all right. It was a good exercise. It was fun. And found some other good ways to get in on things because they just absolutely obliterated our top 10 odds.
I mean, not just obliterated, Cody. Like they took
BJ McLeod is 3-1. If you haven't looked, BJ McLeod is 3-1 on some books. Like that's what I mean. What are we doing here? Come on.
They took the Death Star and just blew up the top 10 odds. They were like,
direct hit.
Yeah, that was gone. And I haven't had a sip of this yet. That's the great part about it. Yeah, here we are. We are at Talladega Superspeedway playoffs. I mean, it can't get any better than this under the lights. So definitely looking forward to that. We've got plenty of picks coming to you, but we also want to tell you Hurricane Helene has been devastating to the people of Western North Carolina, and SGPN is teaming up with a local charity, mountainprojects.org, to help give back. Biggest donation will get a guest spot on the CFB College Football Pick Show and a ton of gear. So go to mountainprojects.org and hit flood support help and help out today. We thank you very much in advance. And listen, I know that we're giving out prizes for the biggest donation, but I'm telling you right now that any donation is needed, is accepted, and is applauded from you out there. So many people out there who have had just a rough go of it the last few days and could use any and all help they can get. And then, of course, tossing in some swag is not always a bad deterrent from doing that as well. Walter says you guys should see the top 20 odds on Caesars. Why would they even do that to us?
They're brutal. I mean, you could maybe consider the top or the bottom two guys because they're like minus 110. But I mean, other than it's like minus 150 for the third worst odds on there. Like, why even post them, Rod? Just don't post them. I don't what.
That's fine. But you know what, though? That's fine. Let him post them because who cares? John Little's a glutton for punishment. KFB plus 12 on Caesars. Hang tight, John. You and I may both be punishing ourselves a little bit later. Boji Joe wants to donate a new shirt to me. Jesus, Boji, I love this shirt. What are you talking about?
What are you wearing there, Rod? I mean,
it's just
again, this is why you have to watch on YouTube because you can look at whatever Rod is wearing.
Look, it's just a little like button-down shirt, right? That's got
is that like Mickey Mouse on it, or what's
it's got clovers on it. It's a green matte blue, a green shirt. You know, I love it. I don't care what you're saying.
I got from the merch store. I got my Sports Gambling Podcast Forever New England shirt on. So yeah, make sure you go over to sgpn.com/store, something like that. Just go to the website and click the store button.
Indeed. Hey, what I lack in fashion sense, I make up in good taste for beer. So
right,
we'll go with that on that. So.
All right, Rod. It was a newsy day in NASCAR. Should we?
Yes, it was. Yeah, let's get to some of it.
Okay. We kind of talked about this a little bit yesterday. Caden Honeycutt, he's signed a deal for next season. He will be full time in that 45 truck for Nice. Obviously, we've seen some good flashes from him. We know that Nice team has upside for sure. So be interesting to see what he can do with a full time season. Carson Kvapil running full time in the Xfinity Series for JRM next year. This is not really any surprise, right? We sort of saw this coming. Get Kvapil, pretty good young guy, along with Zilich, of course, is going to be running full time over there. Allgaier, I would assume, will be back. I don't know that we've seen a thing on that, and it sounds like Sammy Smith will probably be back as well. So that should be their 4-driver lineup there. Which should be a pretty solid lineup. I mean, Kvapil and Zilich are two of the young up-and-coming guys that are kind of a big deal. So, yeah, I think that's a pretty solid lineup for JRM going forward there.
As if my JRM love could not deepen any further. I mean, you bring two of the hottest drivers on the circuit into the fold, bring it with one of the oldest drivers in the circuit. Yeah, I think they're going to be a fun team to watch for. I mean, listen, they already rival JRM. They do rival themselves. They already rival JGR. Damn these 3-letter acronyms in NASCAR. Let's kick that to the curb. But yeah, I mean, but now it feels like with all these young drivers, especially in JGR, right? JGR's got a couple of young guys too in the pipeline that they're ready to bring up. So this is going to be
interesting to see. Yeah, it's like we don't really know JGR's lineup yet. We know Brandon Jones is going back over there, but it'll be interesting. You know, do they bring like Taylor Gray up, or kind of what do they end up doing there? Will be interesting to see. The one other big piece of news, Rod, I was trying to pull this article up to kind of get a better idea. NASCAR, you know, we've had some flips this season. A lot of cars ending up upside down. Of course, we had the big Brian Preece one last year. So NASCAR's been looking at different ways. How can they keep these cars on the ground? Obviously, it's dangerous to the drivers if they flip, dangerous to fans as well if they end up in the catch fence or anything like that. So they're trying to keep these cars on the ground. So they're instituting some aerodynamic changes to the Cup Series cars Sunday. This is from their NASCAR.com. The mandated additions will be an extended height roof rail, extended rocker panel, skirt, and fabric beneath the right side roof flat. These combined efforts are intended to reduce the chances and effects of vehicles going airborne, you know, in the event of an on-track wreck or whatever. So they're going to make that right side roof rail 2-inch fins. They had talked about putting that fin that they added and just running it straight down the windshield, basically, but it would have looked really stupid, and I don't think people like that very much, along with like makes the tear-offs really tough. It was going to block views, which obviously these drivers need to see as much as they can on the super speedways. So it'll be interesting. obviously, hopefully this will keep cars on the ground, right? That's the number one goal, but it'll be interesting to see if this affects the racing at all, because you're changing the way the air is going to flow around these cars. You're changing things. What's that going to do for handling? I'm not any type of body expert, cars or people, but so like I have no idea what this means for like during the actual race, but it'll be interesting to see if it does affect that at all, I suppose.
The only thing that I'm worried about is that they make too many tweaks to this and then something else happens. And then there's some other thing that they've got to fix, because what you got to understand, and what everybody understands when they watch NASCAR, is these vehicles are finely tuned instruments that if you make one tweak and one change, then it impacts some other part of that car that you may not have even thought of. So if we're doing all this to this, what's it going to do to tire?
And there's like no testing. I mean, I'm sure they've simulated stuff and whatnot, but nothing's going to be the same as when you get 36, 30, or what do we have, 40 cars, I think, in this race in a pack racing together. So it'll be interesting to see how that works. Oops. Sorry, Rod. I clicked off whatever you clicked on. Go back to JB. Yeah, JB saying we wish we had wish we had LaJoy's kickball tournament to bet on.
Ooh.
Like, it's for charity. Come on. Like, how could we not work this in there? That would be great. They had their whole deal last week where they selected their teams. That was pretty fun to watch and everything. I
know a site that would love to have that article on there.
Oh, yes. You do know a site about that, huh? Boji Joe wants to know if RCR is going to make any changes next year. As far as drivers go, I don't anticipate that. Looks like Kyle Busch, he still has another year on his contract. We've not really heard anything. That 7 ride got filled, all that stuff. So I think all those rumors are pretty much done. You'd assume Austin Dillon's back for another season. I wouldn't be surprised to see him retiring soon. Maybe they continue to work in that third car and get Austin Hill some more rides as well. Corey checking back in. Corey Ford. NASCAR hit Zane Smith and Bowman top 10 last week. Profit these last 3 weeks. Already placed Bowman top 10 this week. Blaney top Ford. See how that shows itself. Waiting for race matchups. Glad you've been joining us, Corey. And I think listened to the Truck and Xfinity Series pods last week, which hopefully you did, because holy shit, we cleaned up on Xfinity big time. Had the winner and some other stuff in the Truck Series as well. JDK saying, well, now next year you can actually bet on JRM and win. Oh, Rod. That's like, shot fired right there for you. Jessica checking in with the good Jessica. Evening, guys.
Cheers.
Yeah, these cars are airplanes designed not to fly. That is pretty much actually true. They're going faster than airplanes go when they take off or whatever. So, yeah, and saying also Heim time yet. But hey, we do have the Truck Series back again this week, Rod. Maybe it'll be Heim time on Thursday's episode.
Lots of Dega to talk about. Tons of Dega to talk about. But first, let's tell you about SGPN. They have the most DGen pregame shows in the world. Saturday, the College Experience YouTube kicks off at 11 Eastern for the NFL. The Propcast kicks off at 11 a.m. Sunday, followed by SGPN at noon East. Last second bets, DGen parlays, your calls, and way, way, way more. We'll talk Talladega, ladies and gentlemen, but first, let's tell you about our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Pick'em has one of the biggest menus for all sports: NFL, college football, MLB, MMA, WNBA, NASCAR, Formula One, and more. Lobby is jam-packed with profit boosts. You can now use specials and boosts on all flexed entries. Last night, we gave out the free pick, I suppose, of the day, which was Tyreek Hill over a half a yard. Boy, we didn't know how much of a sweat that was actually going to be. However, Tyreek Hill did end up getting that. Cody called it. It was going to be a tough half yard for him to get. And boy, was it ever. But it still hit, which means if you picked that and made other picks along with it, then your multiplier grew and grew and grew and hopefully cashed. So sign up today with our promo code RACESGPN to claim your special pick and first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code RACESGPN.
Yeah, it was you texted me during the game and you're like, who knew how hard? I think at that point he had like 3 receiving yards and we're in the second half. You're like, who knew it was going to be that hard for him to actually get that half a yard? Also, I tossed out the Huntley rushing yards.
Oh, yeah.
That was about the only positive in that Dolphin game, but that did hit as well because he did run the ball a lot. So hopefully you played those. Rod, I'm really looking forward to Underdog this week, seeing what they give us for Kyle Larson. Oh, buddy. You know how it goes.
Yeah, it's definitely hammer the worse than in that instance, unless they put 36, in which case I'm still hammering the under because you'll find a way to finish 38th out of 37.
He's done it a few times.
Yeah, that's for true. All right.
Also, Boji Joe saying a half yard for real. Yes, that is for real. Underdog does that a lot, where they'll give you a guy, and every once in a while it doesn't work out. Where like Aaron Rodgers last year was over half a yard and he got hurt in the first game. But they do stuff like that all the time. I think last week was CeeDee Lamb over a half receiving yard. They had this one for the Monday night deal. They'll a lot of times give you what's basically a free square. So it's a lot of great deals over there at Underdog. Monica checking in, won $1,133 on Busher's win September 1st, $81 on Watermelon's win on Sunday. Regret not betting more. Hey, nice hits, and $81. You probably hardly put anything on that and cash pretty big. And hell yeah, that's a nice big hit on Busher there at Watkins Glen. So shout out to you.
This is why, folks. This is why we have the smartest audience in the entire world. You guys don't need us, but I'm glad you keep us around, because I guarantee you right now, life would probably be a lot more dull if I wasn't drinking Talladega Light and wearing funny shirts.
This shirt. I mean, come on.
All right, Talladega. Speaking of Talladega, we are at the Talladega Superspeedway in Talladega, Alabama, for this YellaWood 500, set for 188 laps around this 2.660 mile paved super speedway for 500.080. Action-packed, packed up, pack racing around this track. Cody, it's Dega, baby. I mean, we can take the wheel and spin it, but
it's Dega, baby. Really, it is. And this is our 6th and final super speedway drafting track race of the year. You've heard the speech probably the other 5 times, right? You go into Talladega expecting to not hit any of these bets. You take it lighter. There's no pressure. You go in and you think, lost all these bets. If any of them hit, it's a positive day. It's a fun day. Sit back, watch the chaos, enjoy it. You get to sprinkle long shots. Long shot stuff comes through in these types of races. It is a lot of fun, Rod. There's going to be 40 entries for this race. They will all make the race. AJ Allmendinger back in the number 13 car for Colleague Racing. Cody Ware returning in the number 15. SVG. He's going to be back in the number 16 car once again this week. JJ Yaley back in the 44 car for New York Racing. Anthony Alfredo Fast Pasta. He's going to be in the 62 car. I was trying to think back and remember, was Retzloff scheduled to make all the starts in that 62 car? No. I don't think he was, but I wish I knew, because it would suck if he was scheduled to make this start and was replaced because of the incident earlier this year. But anyways, neither here nor there. BJ McLeod also back in the number 78 for Live Fast. So yeah, it's a full 40 car field. I mean, there's 38 drivers that have the potential to beat Kyle Larson this week, girl.
Hey, listen, and they're going to all do it too, as a matter of fact. Well, okay, maybe not all of them, but at the very least, I'm sure a few of them will. In fact, many of them will.
Get your magnifiers for Cody's card later, Joe. Boji Joe says.
Look at Boji. I'm telling you right now. So, like I said, the power was out at our house.
Dude, corporate gambling coming after us hard. I had technical issues last week. Rod's board hasn't been working lately. No power for Rod at all today. Nope. Boy, they're really coming after us. That's why we're a little bit later on the show today than we normally are on a Tuesday. But no graphic at the end of this one. But Rod will recap it all at the end, so you can write it down at that point in time. But yeah, it's a pretty loaded card. You know how it goes.
Optimus Prime was broken down at the end of our block. They needed to fix a transformer, so they basically shut our entire power down. And like I barely got home in time to do the show, because we've been out all day because we didn't want to stay inside the house in 106-degree weather.
That's not
AC.
That's not a lot of fun. Also, chat, if you could do your thing, if you notice any head-to-head matchups out there with Kyle Larson besides the Alex Bowman one on Caesars, drop it in the chat. Let me know. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, also be on the lookout for honey bun comments, because we love those, and we want to make sure that they're properly highlighted. So if you see any honey bun comments, then we're all over that. All right.
Yes.
Talladega, Cody, I think it might be time to start loading up our card. What say you, my friend?
Let's do just that, Rod. Boy, Boy, I was going to say one other thing. And I was going to highlight JDK's comment here. Books are starting to figure it out. Kyle Larson, 25-1 to win, plus 140 for a top 10. I will say, in all honesty, I'm not fucking with you here, CT. At 25-1, if you wanted to bet on Kyle Larson to win this race, I would not say that is a bad bet. The home of his 1 of 45 career top 5 finishes, Rod, is at Talladega. Of the 3 drafting tracks, Dega is definitely his best one. We've seen his ability to run up front during the pack, or run up front of the pack during the race. So, not going to be on my card, but, they're at least figuring it out. So, that being said, Rod, I've got the Super Speedway commandments over here. If you're new to the show, there is a tablet. It's got the commandments for Super Speedway racing. There's actually only one commandment. That commandment is fade Kyle Larson. Rod, 45 career Super Speedway races / drafting tracks, as we include Atlanta in there. In the NASCAR Cup Series, 1 top 5 finish for Kyle Larson. Greatest driver in the world. I'd put him up against Max Verstappen right now. All of this, but you fade him when it comes to Super Speedways. I don't hate Kyle Larson. Cashed on him a couple weeks ago at Bristol when he led 462 laps. You pick and choose your spots. This is where you fade him. So you go back and you look at his finishes here previously at Talladega, and like I said, they're actually I'm going to read these off. You can be like, those are really great finishes. But for Kyle Larson, they're actually pretty decent finishes. 21st here in the spring. This is not bad, actually, for Kyle Larson. 15th last fall. So that's a pretty good run for Larson on Super Speedway. 33rd the race before that. 18th. Then we had that 4th place finish. Kyle Larson made it to the end of a race. Got that 1 career top 5 finish. The 3 races prior to that, Rod, 37th, 40th, and 39th. So that maybe paints a little bit of a better picture of what you can expect from him. Currently, as we're recording this, the only head-to-head I've been able to find thus far is Alex Bowman at -115. So we're going to leave this open-ended part of the card. You got to stay tuned in the Discord. I'll be dropping additional bets that are going to count on the recap show next week in the Discord when I find more head-to-heads against Kyle Larson. Caesars is not offering the finishing positions like they did last time we had a Super Speedway. If you get that on Kyle Larson, take the over, which would be the worst then finish, right? And then I'm sure we'll talk about an underdog later this week. Whatever the projection is, I don't care. Take the worst then side of things. You fade Kyle Larson on these tracks. Again, during the race, you're going to be like, oh, he's running in 3rd place. He's getting stage points. He's finishing well. He's doing great. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he's just going to lose the car, spin out, hit the wall. Chase Briscoe's going to destroy him later. And you're going to tweet at me and you're going to say, well, it wasn't his fault. He had a tire go down. Well, it wasn't his fault. He bobbled. Well, it wasn't his fault. This happened. Well, it wasn't his fault. Corey LaJoie got it to him. Wasn't his fault. I don't care whose fault it was, Rod. It's going to happen because it happens every single time we come to a Super Speedway. Doesn't matter whose fault it is, whether it's Kyle's fault, whether it's somebody else's fault. He's going to get caught up in the shit because he always gets caught up in the shit. You fade Kyle Larson. That is probably the way we've made the most money over time on this show. They don't always cash. So, again, it's a Super Speedway. Things can happen. Right? I think we had Chase Elliott over him at Daytona. Elliott wrecked right before Larson did. Larson still wrecked, didn't finish good. You don't cash the head-to-head there. So, again, moderation. But these are the head-to-heads you target. You fade Kyle Larson. When it comes to these tracks, the books are starting to notice. We've hit them a couple of times, and they figured it out, Rod, right? So they're dropping his odds, and maybe we're not going to get as good of head-to-heads. But if you get head-to-heads against him, if you get B.J. McLeod against Kyle Larson, guess who I'm taking, Rod? Give me B.J. McLeod. He gets to the end of these races. Kyle Larson doesn't do it. Greatest driver in the world. This is the week to fade him. Give me Alex Bowman. Right now, that's the only matchup. -115 over him. By the way, Bowman, too, if you care, 5th place here in the spring. Pretty good run. Not all great, right? 28th last fall, but 13th, 9th in the previous finishes. Couple of 38s before that. He can get caught up in shit, too. But he is 3 out of the last 4 beating Larson here. So, yeah, that's the small case for Bowman, but it's more the case against Kyle than anything.
It's always the case against Kyle, especially on these tracks. There's no justification. And like you said, I think the biggest argument that you made right there was it doesn't matter how, because so many people, when we talk about these particular bets, and they're like, but, and it's like, but you said that.
Yeah, that was Atlanta. That was Atlanta, and I just I made the tweet. Here it was. It happened or whatever. And just I had people coming out of the woodwork and they're like, wow, a tire went down or he just it just snapped out of his hand. I asked if Crackle and Pop were around because they probably cashed the bets. It doesn't matter. And he's going to look good. You're going to think to yourself during the race, Kyle Larson looks like he's pretty good. This guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Then it's going to happen. There's going to be a big wreck. The smoke's going to clear, and you're going to see him sideways coming out of the wreck, and you're going to be like, motherfucker, you did it again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That bird feather is going to fall from the sky, and it's just going to land on the window just right and make him go, oh, my God, what was that? And then you're done. That's it. Kyle Larson's over.
All it takes.
All right. Long shot top 10 for me this time. Get out your wavy wands and say SVG. Look, SVG, his top 10 odds plus 360. We just talked about it. He's plus 360 on FanDuel for a top 10. Now, granted, there are other books in which he is actually plus like 210, 220. I've seen that out there. So I'm taking the longer odds on SVG because this is a definite long shot top 10 finish. Look, Shane Van Gisbergen, you know he's going to kill it on a road course. There's no way you'd ever get plus 360 for a top 10 on a road course for SVG. But, I mean, look, he's only got one top 20 finish in all of his super speedways starts this season. And that was a 17th place finish here at Talladega. So at least we know that he's been good on this track. Or I'm sorry, he started 17th, finished 28th. So not a good finish there. But look, for SVG, he's figuring things out, right? We've known this for a few months now where he's putting things together. He's starting to run well. In the Xfinity Series, he's starting to get decent finishes in places where, you don't expect him to. A 4th place at Indy, a 7th place at Darlington, an 8th place last week at Kansas. Like, he's getting things figured out right now. Super speedway racing, pack racing, still sort of an enigma to him altogether. But look, nobody expected him to come in 8th place at Kansas last week. I think that was a top 10 that that was not on anybody's radar. He started 22nd in that race, in fact, and ended up finishing in 8th. So something is starting to click. You've given this guy enough reps on tracks to get things figured out. If he can just keep the 16 just out of trouble long enough, right? He's got enough Chevy teammates around him. There's enough people that now kind of respect the way he races and want to kind of work with them a little bit. He can peek his head in here and there to find some allies and stay around the front of the pack. But I'm telling you right now, this is a good position for him to be in right now because he'll have the Xfinity race under his belt too by the time he gets in there. So he'll have a full other race of pack racing, albeit in a different type of car. But at the very least, it'll be pack racing. And look, plus 360, right? And it's calling good at restrictors. Boji Joe asked. AJ Allmendinger's been really, really good on.
We'll be talking about AJ here in a few minutes.
Yeah, on super speedways. So again, and he's his teammate, right? So we've got a guy that can help shepherd him along and do good things with him. So AJ Allmendinger. Yes, I do love AJ Allmendinger. SVG plus 360 for a top 10. I mean, like I said, he did it at Kansas last week in the Xfinity Series when nobody thought he could. So I give him a little leg up to be able to finish in the top 10 this week at Talladega.
Yeah, I don't know that the number's big enough for what I like, but again,
none of the numbers are big enough, Cody. This is a week where you just got to pick and choose your battles.
Are you size shaming over here, Rod?
I'm size shaming all the odds. Damn it, books.
Yeah, it's I don't know. JDK says the one thing SVG has figured out is calling cars aren't great. That is true, but that's where super speedways equalize things, right? Mm-hmm. So that is the nice thing here. All right, Rod.
Wait. All right is good.
It is good.
You know what time it is.
I do know what time it is. Oh no, wait, no, that's on the. Say that for the truck series. So sorry.
Gotta say that.
False start.
False start, 5-yard penalty. We'll come back and we'll assess the penalty after the break. But first, let's tell you about Rhythm. SGPN's proud partner, Rhythm, is the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds and get predictions for betting on money lines, spreads, totals, and props. Build your own model, copy one of the top performing models from the leaderboard, or press build a model for me. And Rhythm gives you predictions for every game and player prop, and also has a myriad of stats, research, and trend analysis to give you even more betting insights. Used that model last week to try to predict Tyreek Hill's yardage. And I don't blame Rhythm because it definitely told me to go on the over, but nobody expected that Tyreek Hill was going to go out and do bad things. So even though Tyreek Hill didn't perform, the numbers are still good. You could still definitely build all of your favorite player prop models with Rhythm. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. We're brought to you by BetUS. Bet with the best in the business, BetUS. BetUS has been around for more than 30 years. Easily deposit using cryptocurrency and get lightning fast payouts. U.S. players are always welcome. We're going to give you some of our favorite BetUS bets here in a few, so stay tuned. You can use our link in the meantime to sign up and get a 125% deposit bonus on your first 3 deposits. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetUS. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetUS. Promo code SGPN so they know that we sent you. BetUS, America's favorite sports book. All right, Cody, let's continue down the road, shall we?
All right, Rod, let's continue down the road. Boji Joe was asking if Brandon Jones is in this race. He is not, but his unrelated cousin, Eric Jones, is in this race, Rod. I know that there's a few people in here who have some PTS from Eric Jones in the past. I get it, right? But I don't know if you've seen the car that he's driving, Rod. It's a beautiful pink Family Dollar car, breast cancer awareness. It's great. Anyways, Eric Jones, really fucking good at Talladega. So here's what I'm going to do, Rod. I'm going to go to the top 10 odds, not great. Things are just rough. So somewhere they've not quite adjusted yet is the top manufacturer market. That's where we're going to go on this one. I'm going to go over to the top finishing Toyota. Only 8 Toyotas in this race. So we're going to take Eric Jones at 10-1. We're going to take John Hunter Nemechek at 20-1. The Legacy Motor Club teammates. I understand Legacy Motor Club has been shit this year, but just made the case a few minutes ago about how this track equalizes, right? It doesn't matter if the color cars aren't good in general. They can be good here. It's the same thing with the Legacy cars. They can be good, and we're going to see it. So you're taking the bottom 2 cars in this long enough odds for generally just a large group, right? So they only have to beat 6 other Toyotas in this race. Should Denny Hamlin be good in this race? Of course he should, Rod, but how'd things go for him at Atlanta last time we were out? That's just an example, right? It didn't go great. He didn't finish well. Okay, good. Bubba Wallace, I'm going to make a case for him later, but he can get caught up in things. Things happen, right? Tyler Reddick 1 year in the spring. He's not always done well here. Martin Truex Jr., went okay for him last week, but do we think he's got 2 weeks in a row on him? It's not something I'm willing to bet on, Rod. Ty Gibbs, also going to talk about him later. Christopher Bell, so these guys all capable of doing things, right? But we could also see, Rod, where the Toyotas get all on the same strategy. They come out of the pits together, and they're running together, and then all of a sudden, all 4 of them wreck, and we lose 4 Toyotas. What that could never happen. What had happened here in the spring, right? That's exactly what happened. We lost 4 Toyotas there. Unfortunately, Jones and Nemechek were part of that wreck and had bad finishes. But they're very, very good at this track, specifically Eric Jones. 35th in the spring, but again, asterisk there, got caught up in that wreck, which shit happens, but that's how it goes. Last fall, 26th. Before that, Rod, 6th, 9th, 27th, 2nd, 5th. Eric Jones loves Talladega. Good plate racer in general, but really good at Talladega most specifically. Also finished 8th in the Daytona 500 earlier this year, so good things we've gotten out of him. He's 10-1, and then for his teammate Nemechek, 33rd in the spring, again, part of that wreck. You look at the results, the last 4 cars are Toyotas because they all wrecked each other out. It was a mistake. John or Nemechek's fault, but things happen, right? 3rd in the spring. He has 2 other starts here back when he was with Front Row a couple of years ago in a full-time capacity. 8th place in both of those races in 2020, Rod. So good runs out of John Hunter there. 15th at Daytona a couple of weeks ago. 7th in the 500 back in the spring. So 7th and 8th out of these teammates working together at the end of the race. That's what you're hoping for on this type of bet. If something else happens to the other Toyotas, or maybe they just beat them in general, at 10-1 for Eric Jones, 20-1 for John Hunter Nemechek, you're getting good value there. And then, Rod, because I tend to do so, I crammed some extra bets into this box. We're going to go over to our guy, Todd Gilliland, as well. Going to take him top finishing Ford, 22-1. It's the same thing, right? The Ford group is obviously a lot bigger, but things can happen if Keselowski, Logano, Blaney all get caught up in a wreck, suddenly there's not as many Fords in front of them. 22-1 is a good number. I'm also going to take his top 5 number at 8-1. Again, the top 10 number just not quite sexy enough, but Todd Gilliland, his first career start here, well, it wasn't the greatest, right? We're going to toss that out. The last 4, 7th, 10th, 12th, 8th place finishes from Todd Gilliland. Very capable super speedway racer, very capable at Talladega. Like him, top 4 to 22-1 and top 5 at 8-1.
Yeah. So this week I'm not with you on Legacy. I have bowed out of the Legacy race. I still love me some Jimmy
you want to make a bet on Legacy, the chance that they don't have a chance to win. But the week that they do have a chance to cash bets, you don't want to bet on. That makes
1,000%.
I got it.
1,000%.
Picking up what you're putting down here, Rod.
Yeah. No, I definitely, I don't want to get burned by any Legacy ever again. So I will secretly cheer for them on the sidelines. However, I'm in it. No, JJ, come on. Boji, we already talked about this. I already retired my love for him.
And this would be the week you could actually bet on him. He's not going to run the super speedway races, right? Because just like, why do it? Why not do it? Because this is a chance where you have a chance to get a good finish. So
it's also a chance where you can tear up your car again, which is
he did run the 500. Of course, that's a little different, but this would be the race. Like if you gave out a top 10 this week, it wouldn't be a great number. At least the bet would have a chance, Rob.
We'll see about that. I don't know. I'm not buying it this time. No, you can't.
I tried to tell you last week. You didn't listen.
No, I did not listen, and I'm never la. I'm out. All right. My next bet, Justin Haley. Top 10 car at plus 240 for Justin Haley. He's in that 7 car now, right? And if Cody's banging the drum for Corey LaJoie on that 7 car every single super speedway, I'm going to bang the drum rather. I'll bang the car.
Wow. Okay.
Hold on. Let me just drink more of this Talladega Light. And we'll go from there.
What are they putting that Michael Waltrip beer over there, Rod? Jeez.
Here's the thing, what did Michael put in this beer? Michael and Daniel Dye are like sitting there brewing this together, aren't they? I don't think Daniel Dye is even old enough to drink. Anyways, long story. I'm going to get Justin Haley as a top 10 car plus 240. I mean, it's all the same arguments that Cody's made for Corey LaJoie over the course of the entirety of this 7 car. It knows its way around these super speedways. It doesn't always get the finishes it needs to, but I mean, if we're going to make a case for Jimmy Johnson being able to score a top 10, just the shell of what used to be Jimmy Johnson on there, then I'm going to make a case for Haley because Haley's actually got a super speedway win in his career, albeit it wasn't in the 7 car, but we know the 7 car is a little bit better than the one that he's driving right now. So I will give it a go. Corey LaJoie in this 7 car earlier this season finished 4th at Daytona. That's a hell of a start to a season and a nice super speedway run in that 7 car. Talladega, he finished 18th. I know it's not a top 10 finish, but in pack racing, if you're 18th, 10th is not that far away. All you got to do is catch the right line at the right time. If that 3rd line starts moving, you can go from 18th to 4th in a heartbeat there. So you love that. Unfortunately, Corey LaJoie did not finish well at Talladega, or at Daytona rather. Later on, he finished 34th. But for Justin Haley, like I said, he does have that win at Daytona. He's got a 13th place at Daytona, a 6th place at Daytona. Granted, all these are at Daytona. His speed around the Atlanta Motor Speedway, he's got an 8th place finish in this drafting configuration in that 31 a couple of years ago, and then a 12th place finish earlier in the spring. So again, Justin Haley, one of these guys that's going to be there. He's going to be able to keep his car out of trouble, out of harm's way. So now that he's in a brand new car, I give him even more of a shot to be able to keep that out of the realm of possibilities. He does have one top 10 finish on this track. He finished 6th place in the 31 in the fall. So in this race last year. So he did that in the 31. I mean, the college car.
Right.
No, he did in the 31 in the fall of last year. The 51.
Justin Haley?
Yeah, Justin Haley was in the 31.
Oh, yeah, he was in the 31 last year. God, he didn't even spend a whole year at Rick Ware, did he?
No, he didn't. He bounced.
I forgot about that. I felt, yeah. Okay,
yeah, right?
Sorry. Anyways, continue.
No, you're good. You're good. No, that is a 31. That's all right. Haley top
you never know with Rod over here making stuff up. But
this
Haley
is
top 10, by the way, plus 250 over on Bet365.
365 did not have odds yet when I was putting it together, so that was good.
They were a little slow.
take the 10 points there. But I love this one also.
Yeah. Look at Rod. By the way, alert. Rod adding an extra bet into the box here. I like it. Taking a page out of my book.
Out of Cody's book. I'm going to take him also to win Group E over on Caesars, over all the SHR cars, Briscoe, Barry, and Gragson. Gragson's the one that scares me the most. I know Barry's popped up with a top 10 on some of these tracks, and he's done okay for himself. Gragson, on the other hand, he's actually finished within the top 3 on some of these super speedways. He's the one that scares me the most in this. But again, if we know Haley can post these 6th place finishes in cars that are way less talented, cars can be talented, but way less powerful than the 7 car that he's in now, I still think he can post a better finish than the SHR cars go. Group E on Caesars plus 290 for him to do that over Briscoe, Barry, and Gragson. So Haley top 10 plus 240, winner of Group E on Caesars plus 290 over Briscoe, Barry, and Gragson.
Yeah, I like this one. It's not even like 7 car related. I don't know that the car necessarily translates that much, but Haley's actually been good at the super speedways like you laid out. His win at Daytona was in a Spire car in the 77. There's a lot of extenuating circumstances, but hey, a win is a win. That's what happens, right? It still counts no matter how you get it. But he's been, and man, remember how good he was in the Xfinity Series on these ones as well. Just very, very good. Morning Music News checking in. Any hope for Ryan Preece? Is he driving the Ricky Bobby Wonderbread car again this year? That I know they did that last year with him driving that, and Briscoe had the Old Spice car. I haven't seen. Maybe they are doing it again this year, but if it is, you might have to bet on that car just for that reason.
Was it last year or was it in the spring?
I feel like it was this race last fall, but it could have been in the spring. Things kind of run together at times.
Yeah.
So backing up a little bit, Boji Joe says your shirt would make for a great paint scheme, Rod. Just wanted to toss that out there. JDK asking what top 10 do we get Gilly on? Plus 250 at Bet365. So I ended up taking his top 5 at 8-1 instead of the top 10 because just the number's a little better. Obviously, you're missing out on 5 spots, right? And he's finished top 10 and not 5 multiple times. So if you want to take the top 10 as well, but I'm just like, again, my philosophy on super speedways is big numbers, right? Outside of fading Larson, that's the one place I'm willing to take a minus 115 at. But otherwise, it's take bigger numbers and go light and pray for the best, right? So I'm just shooting for the moon with the Gilly top 5 instead of taking the top 10. All right, Rod, next up, we've already touched on the top Ford market. We already touched on the top Toyota market. Let's go to the top Chevy market. Same thing here, right? Chevy, obviously the biggest group, a lot of cars, but we've seen it before where at these drafting track races, you get to the end and suddenly 9th place, 12th place is the top finishing Chevy. Maybe the Fords link up, have a great day, whatever the case may be. But it can happen, right? So top Chevy, you're scrolling down, you're looking for longer shot odds because that's what we're here for. AJ Allmendinger, 22-1, jumps off the board. And then Rod, some guy drives a 71 car, made us a fuck ton of money last week. Zane Smith, baby, you think we're going to win all that money on Zane Smith last week and not roll some of it back into Zane Smith this week? You're out of your mind. Come on, of course we are. Zane Smith, 35-1 to be top Chevy. AJ Allmendinger, 22-1 to be the top Chevy. AJ has been pretty good here. He's good at super speedway racing in general, right? 20th, 23rd, the last 2 starts here. So not the greatest of days. Got to the end, right? Maybe a little more chaos. Ends up there. But those were his last 2 starts. Didn't have any starts for a couple of years prior to that. But you go back to his last start before that. He was 6th place in this race. Won here in the Xfinity Series. I think that was last season, maybe 2 seasons ago. But either way, he won here, finally got that drafting track win at Talladega. He's been top 15 in 6 of the last 13 races here. So again, a lot of the time finding his way to the end with a chance at it. So you like that. Also earlier this season, 6th place in the Daytona 500. Good race for him there. Love some AJ. And then for Zane Smith, it's not been good in his 2 starts here in the Cup Series, 29th, 37th. But hey, shit happens, right? That's how it goes sometimes. We're going to toss that out. 13th at Daytona, 21st at Atlanta, 13th back. Also, so both of his Daytona runs 13th because he was 13th in the 500 as well. He's shown that capability. We've seen plenty of wins in the Truck Series on drafting tracks as well. He's a good driver. Now you put all this momentum together, right? And that's why we bet on him last week for the top 10 finish, because he's putting things together. He's got all this momentum. Things are going well. When things start gelling and going well, you just made a case for Justin Haley, his teammate in the Spire car, was pretty good here, right? And then Carson Hocevar as well. It's another good drafting partner. These guys are going to be working together. I think Zane Smith could end up being that top Chevy at the end of the day. So I like both these guys as your long shot top Chevy plays. In AJ at 22-1 and Zane Smith at 35-1. Antonio checking in. First time I've seen him. So welcome, Antonio. Won $1,000 on the melon, man. Let's fucking go. Says he's liking long shots this week. It's all about the long shots at Talladega, baby. That is the way to go. And yeah, pretty much all guys that we have or are going to be talking about. So love it. Nico checking in, waking up from down under finally. About time you get up over there, Nico. Just kidding. You guys were early. I'll have to restart when we're done. Excited about this week. Yeah, Rod's we were trying to. Rod knew the power was going to be out, so that was nice having the heads up so we could kind of plan. We're like, all right, we'll set a later time. Power came back on early, so wanted to get it cranked out, and here we are. But you can listen from here and then go back and listen to the first part of the show later on. We make fun of Rod's shirt and have a really good time. So
that's the way it is. And we also busted out the new Michael Waltrip Talladega Light beer. So
by the way, Daniel Dye, Michael Waltrip's son, 21 and 2 months in December. Oh. That is 2 months. Yeah, that is 2 months from now. So yeah, it's almost Christmas already, Rod.
Maybe
so he's almost there. You'd imagine he'll probably spend his 21st birthday at Michael Waltrip Brewing, his dad buying him beers. I can't see a more fitting way to turn 21.
I can't either when your dad's brewing your own beers for you as well. Anyways, love your AJ Allmendinger. I love AJ. You know me, so I'm a softie for him. Don't matter what he's driving. I like him. And then Zane Smith. Yeah. I mean, look, when his wife is liking our tweets, we are team Zane in this instance. All right. Going to my next bet. I'm taking a top three. I know we don't necessarily love to take top threes on super speedways, but Ryan Blaney is the one exception that I will take plus 350 on Caesars for a Ryan Blaney top three. Allow me to read the finishes that support my argument and leave the one out that doesn't from Ryan Blaney over the last 4 races, right? Second place in the fall of 2022, second place in the spring of 2023. He won in the fall of 2023. The one that does not support my argument was the 20th place earlier this season. But he was a returning champion. He kind of had that hangover. We're starting to see now that hangover fall away for Ryan Blaney as he's starting to pick up steam when he needs it. Over the last 3 races, a 3rd place in Atlanta, right? Drafting track there. 6th place at Bristol, short track. 4th place last week at Kansas. I mean, like I said, that 12 team's been putting it together lately, riding some momentum on a track now where the dude has been a runner-up in 2 of the last 3 races, won that one. Well, I'm sorry, 3 of the last 4. Again, I'm throwing that earlier race out from the spring because it doesn't support my argument, so nobody needs to hear that number. But look, Ryan Blaney, we know that he's capable of doing it, and we know that Talladega is one of his better tracks out there. Had a bad day at Daytona. He crashed out of that one, but in the spring, finished 2nd in Atlanta to follow up that 3rd place finish in Atlanta that he had. So 2 top 3 finishes at the drafting track in Atlanta. Again, I mean, how can you not take Ryan Blaney as a top 3 car, especially a plus 350, when that's just what he loves to do? He either wins it or is the runner-up on this track, or he's 20th. But again, that doesn't support my argument, so I don't even want to talk about it. But yeah, I think he's peaking at the right time. He's got enough momentum going for him. He's done that several times over in the past. We know he's a pretty decent super speedway racer. Talked about Fords and how they're not that big, but they do stick together when they're on these tracks. In fact, if they fail, they fail together, which we saw that one. I think it was Talladega earlier this season, right? Where the Fords made a mistake, and that's what kind of cost all of them. They all came together, or they all made a mistake together, and that was.
I know the Toyotas had that one big one in the corner, but I feel like we've seen it enough times from the Fords in the past.
Yeah. Nico loves the shirt, Rod. Definitely says confidence. Thank you very much, Nico.
That's the word I was looking for earlier, Rod. Confidence.
Hey, and they're Clovers, so it's luck, right? We need the luck in Daytona.
We do need the luck of Talladega, rather, but that's okay. We need it at Daytona, too.
Love it. All right. What do we got next?
All right, Rod, next up for me. Going back to the top 10 market. Again, not a lot of things I love this week, but Eric Jones is one thing that I do love this week. Top 10 at plus 240. I know a few of you out there like, he's burned us a couple times. I get it, right? But 6 of the last 9 races at Talladega, Eric Jones has been inside of the top 10, Rod. It's pretty good. Well, that was probably in the Joe Gibbs car, right? Well, it was in the Joe Gibbs car. We finished second. Also in the Petty Motorsports car. We finished 6th twice, 9th once. It's also been in the Legacy car, which is still a Petty car, but a little different, right? 6th place there as well. Again, the spring didn't go as we wanted to. The 35th place finish got caught up in the Toyota wreck. Shit happens, right? That's the risk of super speedway betting. But Eric Jones, one of the better drivers at this track. He's the kind of guy that I save all season long and play as my one and done here in the fall race. Kind of have that in your back pocket, right? Top 10 at plus 240. While there's not a lot of great lines out there, I feel like this number is still big enough for a guy that's done it 6 of 9 times. It's a pretty good batting average. So give me Eric Jones top 10. And then Rod wanted the fast pasta top 10, but boy, just not giving us the number. So we're going to crank it down and go with the top 5. Anthony Alfredo, top 5, 12-1. Again, they're not going to give us the numbers we want on the top. Don't just go bet long shot top 10s just because that's all they're giving us at these numbers. Like, make the books realize that you're not going to get as much action if you're going to give us shitty lines. I don't mind making them pay for that, and hopefully they'll fix it by Daytona again. But I think the top 5, there is still some value to be had there for Anthony Alfredo at 12-1. 3 starts here, Rod, for Anthony Alfredo in it's been in a majority, right, front row cars and also in the 62 car. 12th place finish here in his first career start. Pretty good, right? Then he got a little better. 10th place finish. Okay, good. Then in the spring, Rod, 6th place. Well, we're on a pretty good trajectory moving forward here. If he can move forward a little bit more, it'll be inside that top 5. For a guy in 3 starts that's been within 7 spots at the end of the day of getting inside of that top 5, I think at 12-1, the number is just too good to pass up on fast pasta here. 3rd place here in the Xfinity Series in the spring. Just finished 4th place a couple of weeks ago at Michigan, which not a traditional drafting track, but it was that super speedway package. We saw it. I almost guarantee you we're going to talk about him tomorrow on the Xfinity Series show, right? He's a guy that comes up anytime we get to these type of drafting tracks because he's a veteran driver. Don't forget, he used to be full-time in the Cup Series a couple years ago, had that cup of coffee with Front Row just for a season, but he's been around. He's had some good starts here. Sort of a veteran driver and good finishes, can get it done. 12-1 for a top 5. Good number on Anthony Alfredo.
Yeah, well, again, Eric Jones, told you, no legacy for me this week. But I will support that he could finish inside the top 10. We'll go for there. And then Anthony Alfredo, top 5 again. You just find the right partners. Alfredo missed last week.
Yeah, I mean, he did, but it was also 30-1 for the top 5. He qualified well. He showed some speed. It's Kansas. Like, we know that 5 car doesn't have it in it necessarily, but you put in these drafting tracks, we talked about it earlier, right? It equalizes these cars, and this Beard car almost won a couple of weeks ago, right? With Parker Retzlaff driving it in his first career start. I mean, now you put veteran Anthony Alfredo back in there. This car is more than capable. We've seen it over the years be a competitive car at these drafting tracks. They only race at the drafting tracks. That's what they show up and do, and it's been a pretty good strategy for them with a lot of good finishes. So Alfredo definitely a guy who can get it done.
Indeed. All right. I don't think a lot of guys are going to get it done to this week. So I'm going to go with the look, Caesars is giving us the cars to finish on the lead lap. 29.5 is the number. We talked about it. There's 40 cars. I think 38, right? 38 make the race, or is it 40? Even still.
Yeah, it's going to be 40 cars.
Yeah, it'll be 40. But even still, 29.5 cars. I'm going to say the under to finish on the lead lap. Earlier this spring, I mean, look, that was great. We had 30 cars finish on the lead lap. That's fantastic. But that doesn't normally happen because in 2023, in this fall race, we had exactly 28 drivers finish on the lead lap. By my count, that's under 29.5. In the Geico 500 in the spring, we had 27 drivers even finish on the lead lap. That is worse than 29.5. And then in the 2022 YellaWood 500, we had precisely 27 cars finish on the lead lap. Again, that is below this number. You want to go back one more? The 2022 Geico 500? Yeah, let's do that, where we had 20 cars finish on the lead lap. Last 4 of the last 5 races, this has been not 29 drivers to finish on the lead lap of this particular race. So you got to love it. Minus 115 for this one. I know that we don't necessarily like taking minus 115s, but that's on finishing positions. Anything can happen in that instance. In fact, we want chaos to happen in Talladega. Now we're talking playoffs. Now we're talking everybody needing those points. Now we're talking people easily putting themselves in situations where they're not supposed to be in. Now we're talking back markers making mistakes. Oh my God, but this is going to be one hell of a show. And at the end of the day, I think, we'll have a lot of cars finish. Obviously, we're not going to have tons of them wrecked out at the end of the day, but we're going to have some cars a lap down. Yeah, we could have 5 or 6 out. And then, cars lap down, trying to limp along from the damage they got earlier in the race. So tons of ways for this to happen, but give me under 29.5 cars on the lead lap at the end of the race at minus 115.
Yeah, I mean, one big wreck, and it takes out 11, 12 cars. Like all of a sudden, you're looking pretty good here, and we've seen that happen.
We've seen it happen at the front.
Yeah, you've seen where it's the leader that wrecks and doesn't get to the end, and that's all it takes. So, and then you end up with overtimes or anything like that, and that number is just going to go down because you're going to lose and cars and whatnot. JDK bringing up the Alfredo also does the sim work for Hendrick, if you remember correctly. That is correct. I don't know how much that helps him necessarily on the super speedway, but just as far as being a veteran driver and getting the seat time, sim time, I mean, he gets the Hendrick sim every week. He's dialing in Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, William Byron, and Alex Bowman's cars for them every single week. They love him. I believe he's already signed up to do that again next season. Like, they love him being the sim guy. And so that does speak a lot to what he is able to do. It's another point in the Alfredo bucket. Another little tip of the sauce on the pasta, if you will, there, Rod. All right, Rod. We don't know. This could be it. This could be the final time. I hope not. I hope we get to do it again for the Daytona 500 or Xfinity Truck Series, whatever it is. I think we're going to get it again. I have a lot of faith, a lot of hope, especially after he wins this weekend. But it is time for the penny lift. I need to get an updated picture. Obviously, he's still in the Chevy Spire stuff here, but that's okay. Corey LaJoy, come on, guys. If you've ever listened to the show on Super Speedway Racing, get a bet on Corey LaJoy. I mentioned earlier, Kyle Larson's made me a lot of money on Super Speedway betting against him. The guy who's made me the most money betting on him, Corey freaking LaJoy, gets it done. He's good on the Super Speedways. Again, get caught up in anything else. Honestly, I think that the switch from Chevy to Ford could be a good thing. I know you made the case for how strong that 7 car is earlier. This is a Rick Ware Ford, yeah, but it's an RFK Ford on a super speedway track, right? And he gets it done. Does he have any allies to work with? Let me present to you Brad Keselowski, one of the greatest Talladega's racers of all time. Rick Ware Racing doesn't have their own shop. They're literally in the back door at RFK. Chris Buescher, you ever seen him win on a super speedway before? Brad, already talked about Brad Keselowski. Joey Logano, really good, probably on the Mount Rushmore of current super speedway drivers. Ryan Blaney, you made a case for him earlier. All these guys in Fords. Austin Cindric, by the way, stay tuned to the Discord. If we can get Austin Cindric to win stages later this week, I plan on betting that because this dude is just running up front these entire races. Love him. Will they trust Corey LaJoy on a super speedway? Yes, because they know how good of a super speedway guy he is. And yeah, sure, there's been some shit this year, whatever, but guys like Joey Logano, him and Joey grew up racing together, running together. They're still friends. Now they're actually in the Ford camp together. You love that. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take the penny lift is what I'm calling it this week, Rod. Top 10 at plus 250. I like it. Top 5 at 8-1. Bet US has the best number on that, so make sure you go over there. If you go to Caesars, they have Corey LaJoy listed as the top Chevy and Justin Haley listed as the top Ford still. So clearly they pay a lot of attention. Just be aware of that. But other places have it listed correctly. He is 20-1 to be the top finishing Ford. And FanDuel's got him 55-1 to win, Rod. I will say that Talladega is his weakest of the 3, right? We know how good he is at Atlanta. He's pretty good at Daytona as well. Not super great at Talladega, but when I say that, he finished 4th in this race last season. So you'll take that, right? We cashed a hell of a lot of bets that day. We cashed the top. We cashed the top 5. We cashed the top 10. I don't remember manufacturer, but he's hit that. The top manufacturer one, you might laugh. You might be like, "Oh, there's all these Fords. There's Keselowski and there's Blaney and all these guys." He's cashed the top Chevy one at super speedways multiple times for us. When you have the Kyle Larsons and William Byrons and Chase Elliott's, I mean, all of those it's done. So 18th place here in the spring, not the greatest of days, but you're not that far out. Running at the end of the race, that's what you're looking for. 4th place here last fall. He had a 7th place finish back in the 32 car when he was running that Ford back in the day there. The one big thing that sticks out to me, Rod, 13 career starts here, running at the end of 12 of them. To cash bets on super speedways, and this is the biggest problem and with Kyle Larson is he just doesn't get to the end of these races, right? He runs so good during them, but he can't get to the end. LaJoie can get to the end of these races. Running at the end of 12 of 13, you have to be running at the end to cash these bets. That's what we're looking for. If you're running at the end of these, you have got a shot. You're still alive till the checkered flag falls. 15th place in Atlanta a couple weeks ago. Not the greatest of days, right? But 4th at the 500 earlier this year. Another day where he cashed out big for us. Corey LaJoie can get it done. He's always been able to get it done. I'm always going to bet him on super speedways because he's paid off for me more times than he hasn't. So running the Corey LaJoie penny lift, car lift, whatever you want to call it, back this week, Rod. Top 10, top 5, top Ford, win the race all the way up to 55-1.
Stack those pennies high, man. He's still stacking pennies. He's not necessarily done stacking pennies. He's just stacking them on top of the Mustang instead of the Camaro now. So,
which again, like, man, these Fords have been fucking strong at these super speedways. So I don't know that it's a bad thing for him to switch over and be in a Ford. I mean, there's some pretty fast guys to work with over there. So I like it for Corey.
Indeed, me too. I will go with you on this one only because I think I'm contractually obligated at this point after 510 episodes to ride LaJoie with you on this. All right. I like the winning car number, the plus money side of the winning car number this week. Winning car number under 12.5 plus 140. Here's the thing about this, right? Where are you getting when you're getting under 12.5? The crazy thing is that it's set at 12.5. This actually gives you Blaney. I just talked about the guy who's finished second in 2 of the last 4 races and won 1 of the last 4 races on this track. But you also get Brad Keselowski, 6 career wins. By the way, the most of active drivers on this particular track. Has he done it in a while? No, but he does have that many wins. He's capable of doing it. He did finish second here in the spring, right? So second is a breath away from first. You also get Ryan Blaney, like I talked about, 3 career wins here. You get Denny Hamlin, 2 career wins on this track. Not a bad. Let me paint this picture a little bit more clear for you, okay? As we look down at the list of drivers who have won here, Brad Keselowski has 6, Logano has 3, Blaney has 3, Hamlin has 2, Elliott has 2. Guess what? That's another one underneath 12.5. Kyle Busch has 2. Oh, guess what? He's there. Then there's Ross Chastain. Oh, guess what? He's there too. He's got a win on this track as well. Those are all of the ones. And then, of course, it goes to David Reagan, Tyler Reddick, Ricky Stenhouse, and Bubba Wallace. Those are the only active drivers right now with wins on this track in particular over the last several years. You notice how many of those are under 12.5? I read off how many drivers, like 10 or 11 drivers, and only 4 of them are not under that number. So that tells me there's dominance in these drivers that are under 12.5. Now, if this were set at 11.5, I might get a little squirrely, only because Denny Hamlin doesn't invoke a lot of confidence in me lately. But we know that Denny Hamlin can start on the pole on this track. Yes, he can. He's got, 4 poles in the last 8 races here. So he can put himself on the pole. He did win in 2023, like I talked about. He finished 3rd in the fall of 2023. So a hair away. Crashed out of the spring, which is unfortunate for him. But again, all of these drivers that I just read off, most of these guys are under 12.5. Chastain. Then you add in Cindric, who could accidentally win this race, right? You've seen a super speedway win out of Cindric. Dillon, he's got a super speedway win in him as well. Barry, I'm not high on him, but I can definitely see if something happens and he ends up winning, because we know these SHR cars are not long for the world. You also get Justin Haley, who we just talked about, has a super speedway win. Yes, Boji Joe. You get Kyle Busch, for sure. And then Chase L, I know who he's talking about. I don't know. I don't have to gloss
Hey,
over.
maybe Kyle Larson gets it done, Rod.
Yeah,
You never
but
know.
hey, at plus 140, if he accidentally gets it done and you didn't bet on him, you're happy there. But yeah, I mean, then you get Chase Elliott and you get Noah Gragson. I mean, that is a very talented list of drivers at plus 140 that all have the capability and all have won on this track. Most of them and I like the group. I mean, obviously there's way more over 12.5, but I do believe that the group that you get at 12.5 is worth plus 140 and a speculation there.
Most of my outrights are out over this number, so I don't mind having the hedge on the other side at plus 140. TK going back to Corey LaJoie would be crazy. Comeback for him to win week 2 of after the swap. I mean, yeah, I would, but what a story that would be. What could that do for helping him get a ride next season? I mean, all those things would be great. Boji Joe, no McDowell love. Just, man, it's tough. Like he's been good here. He's got quite a few top fives and all of that, but just the numbers aren't great. It was hard to find a way to get in on him this week. So no love for him. I'm sure he's going to start on the pole again. He'll probably be minus 400 to win the pole, so you won't even be able to bet it. But that's how it goes. All right, Rod, time for those outright winners. Of course, I already gave you the Corey LaJoie at 55-1. Again, you go lighter, you take it easy, you sprinkle long shots. That's the way to go. One favorite I'm going to give out, Brad Keselowski. Rod, let me read you the list of winners at Talladega. Dale Earnhardt Sr., 10 wins. Dale Earnhardt Jr., 6 wins. Jeff Gordon, 6 wins, tied for second with Dale Earnhardt Jr. Brad Keselowski, 6 wins, tied with Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt Jr., only trailing Dale Earnhardt Sr. He has been really fucking good here. And it can be hit and miss with Keselowski, right? He was second here in the spring, 32nd last fall. This is, I don't necessarily love like trying to get it, and he's such a favorite. Its numbers aren't great anyways, but like top 5, top 3, like just go for the win at 12-1. Don't bet on him in any other way because it can go either way. Second here in the spring, 32nd last fall, but 5th the time before that, 24th to 23rd, had a second before that. He does have 4 top 5 finishes in the last 7 races here. So in the last 7 races, 4 times he's been in the top 5 with a chance to win at the end. That's what you're looking for. Of course, he's already snapped that winless streak earlier on this season. Now he's out of the playoffs. Doesn't have to worry about points racing or anything. Just go out there and win. Of current active drivers, nobody is better here than Brad Keselowski. 12-1, he's the favorite that I don't mind taking. So give me a little bit of Brad Keselowski. Then Rod, it's all long shots from here on out. These are all on FanDuel, by the way. They've got great outright prices. This seem to be where I found the best on everyone. Bubba Wallace, 21-1. Congratulations to Bubba and his family. Just had a baby on Sunday. Actually had the baby Sunday morning. Then he flew to Kansas, ran the race. Now here comes that baby bump. Rod, go to victory lane 1 week after becoming a dad. Yes, let's fucking go. He's 6th place at Daytona earlier, just a couple of weeks ago. 5th place back in the 500. The results have been a little mixed here at Talladega, but of course he does have the win here, so you like that. Tyrone Gibbs, Rod, 33-1 for the young kid. Fuck your sophomore slump. Tyrone Gibbs gets it done this week at Talladega. Rod, last spring, he was leading the race late. Things were looking good. Ran out of fuel, 31st place finish, so result not indicative of how he's running. Ran good. 22nd here in the spring. Shit happens, right? But 5th place at Daytona, 10th place at Atlanta back in the spring. He's had some good finishes, shown the ability to run well on the super speedways. One of the great things about super speedway betting, Rod, is you get to a certain point at the numbers, just pick guys you want to root for to win. I want to see Ty Gibbs win a race. 33-1, numbers great. We know he's capable of getting it done. Give it to me. Love it. Eric Jones, 55-1. Already talked about him. Multiple angles already throughout this day. Kind of completing the car lift here all the way to victory lane. One of the better drivers at Talladega in recent memory. And Rod, again, are you going to win all that money we won last week on Zane Smith and not put it on him at 90-1 to win this week? Absolutely fucking not. Zane Smith, you know what to do, buddy. Go get it done. Another guy looking for a ride next year. Those Spire cars, we talked about him earlier, Rod. Zane Smith, 90-1. Get it done, buddy.
We have become the unofficial fan club of Zane Smith. I mean, no, because even when he was driving the trucks, we loved us.
Zane
Smith.
We've been making money on Zane Smith for a long time.
Yeah, we definitely are OG Zane Smithers. So good to see him have some success.
As Boji Joe's mentioned multiple times in the chat.
38
truck. Love us some Zane Smith and TK as well. Brad currently number 1 seed in his book, mine as well. So love it, TK.
Well, listen, I'm not going to scroll all the way back through the chat to bring up the one, but I am on with whoever said it earlier, Kyle Busch, 12-1. I am going to go off on this one because, look, it's going to have to happen at some point. And this is probably the better. I mean, last week was the best opportunity for him to do it. This week is the second best opportunity for him to get. Look, it's going to have to happen at 12-1 for Kyle Busch to win this. We just talked about how he's won a couple of races here already. He's definitely due. I mean, he's got the streak in his head now. Everybody's got the streak in their head now. And somebody's going to have to Boji Joe. I think Boji Joe was the one that said that it was Kyle Busch. And it's going to have to be at some point. So I just look at this as Kyle Busch and that 8 team figuring out something, anything, whatever they can do. And look, I know that everybody's all for themselves at this point, but if you're the 3 car and you're running up alongside of Kyle Busch and you know that his streak is on the line, you want to win a race, but if you know you're not going to win that race, maybe that extra shove at the end of that race goes to Kyle Busch and it pushes him out and it gets him up front. So, maybe there's another driver who's not in the playoffs that realizes, hey, I'm not going to win this thing. Might as well link up with Kyle Busch, get him to the front and get him winning. Not all NASCAR drivers are selfish, hungry pigs. Some of them actually have hearts that want to help out folks and see their dreams come true. But, I know most of them now are all take, which is what Kyle Busch had said in his interview. But listen, it's a matter of this is his opportunity. He was devastated last week that he got taken out of it by not even a car length, a lane that he couldn't even lead. He could have had an opportunity to do better and didn't. He's not going to do that again. I know he wasn't given enough.
He was given plenty of room. He just
I know. If you look at it, he was given. Yeah, he could have backed out. He could have saved himself for another run. But I get it. So Kyle Busch 12-1. I'm taking that angle on it, but I'm also taking a Busch Blaney Quinella. The exacta. It's fun. It's like 80-1 if you pick an exacta. And if you want to, you could pick either side of this. Busch and Blaney, right? If you wanted to put like a half unit on the Busch Blaney exacta on either side, that's fine. Or you could just put that whole thing on the Busch Blaney Quinella at 40-1 and call it a day. Because if Blaney wins this race and Busch finishes second, or if Busch finishes first and Blaney finishes second, then you still cash in this bet. But I've already talked about Blaney and how I think, obviously we know he's good at finishing second on this track. And again, if Kyle decides he wants to block Blaney at the last second, then then you're good, right? And Boji Joe, like Reddick Larson, hit twice this year. So these Quinellas, you can, if you get them right, you get them right. Any Quinella with Blaney in it is good. But if I'm picking Busch to win, then I might as well cover myself with a Busch Blaney Quinella with 40-1. So I like that.
Yeah, not going to argue with Kyle Busch. I mean, you look back, right? He won Talladega last season, so that's a check mark in the good. You look at that Atlanta 3-wide finish. Who was there? Brian Blaney and Kyle Busch, of course, right? Daytona a couple of weeks ago, Harrison Burton wins. Who was leading coming to the end there? Kyle Busch. He's been in the mix. He should have won the Daytona 500 last season. Still a little upset about that. Kyle Busch, he's been at the end of all of these super speedway races lately. Only the one time he won, which was at Talladega. But he's been in the mix, had a chance. I can't say that that's a bad bet. And yeah, I mean, putting 2 guys together, those Quinellas, long shots, those are a lot of fun at a track like this. Just go pick a couple different random ones, a couple guys you think could be there at the end. Maybe you pair up the teammates if it's, a Keselowski Busher type of thing. That one's probably one of the favorites on that. But you create a story, right? That's what's so fun about super speedway racing and what 2 guys maybe pushing themselves at the end there. So I like it.
Indeed. All right. Get out your pen and paper. We're about to rewind all the way back to the beginning to lay out our bets for this Talladega YellaWood 500. Sorry again, no graphic. Power was out, didn't have time to really make anything do. So you'll just have to listen and listen tightly. For those of you on the podcast, you're like, I don't care. I've never had the graphics, so just say it already. And I will. We start off with our one commandment, fade Larson. Cody is taking Alex Bowman over Kyle Larson at -115 over Caesars. And, of course, keep your eyes out on the Discord and everywhere else for the other ones that we'll take throughout the day. I am taking SVG as a top 10 car at +360 over on FanDuel. Cody is giving you Eric Jones as the top Toyota 10-1 on BetUS. John Hunter Nemechek as 20-1 as the top Toyota as well. Top Ford, he says, will be Todd Gilliland at 22-1, and take Todd Gilliland as a top 5 car at 8-1 rather. Ooh, at 81 would be fantastic.
80-1 would be great if you can find that.
Yeah, no, you can't. 8-1 for Gilliland, top 5. I said Justin Haley would be a top 10 car at +240 over on Caesars, and then to win Group E on that Caesars as well at +290, Briscoe, Berry, and Gragson. Cody said the top Chevy would be AJ Allmendinger at 22-1. Zane Smith at 35-1 also as the top Chevy. I said that Ryan Blaney would be a top 3 car at +350 over on Caesars. Cody gave you Eric Jones as a top 10 car at +240. Anthony Alfredo as a top 5 car at 12-1 on BetUS. I said that under 29.5 cars would finish on the lead lap at -115 over on Caesars. Cody stacking pennies on the penny lift today, taking Corey LaJoie as the top 10 car at +250, top 5 at +800 on BetUS. 20-1 is the top Ford, and to win the race, 55-1 on FanDuel. I said the winning car number would be under 12.5 at +140. Cody gave you Brad Keselowski at 12-1, Bubba at 21-1, Gibbs at 33-1, Eric at 55-1, Zane Smith at 90-1 to win this race. I said, give me Kyle Busch in one of his last chances at redemption at 12-1 to win this race, and then take a Busch Blaney Quinella, so either one of them can win or finish second at 40-1 to win the YellaWood 500 Talladega Superspeedway. Cody?
Let's fucking go, Rod. Super Speedway racing. You got to love it. Going to be a lot of fun. Again, remember, take it light, take it easy, go for your long shots, sit back, have a beer, 10 beers, whatever you can handle. And, just relax, have fun. It's always a good time. Watch the pack racing and love it. Boji Joe wants to know how many pennies I have on Nebraska Rutgers. No pennies yet, but, by Saturday there will be things placed. The thing I've been taking on the Huskers is the first half team total. Didn't work out this last week, but it's been hitting most of the week, so I'll probably look into that again this week.
I'll tell you what I'm not putting pennies on is Fresno State anymore. I love them, but they got demolished by UNLV last week. I tape the games normally, right? And I love watching every second of every down. This time, though, I put it on 2x speed because I was not going to sit there and watch them get just manhandled the way they did. So thank God Army's kicking everybody's ass right now. That's my one saving grace at this point. But
it'll be good when Navy beats them later this year, Rod. But anyways, we'll talk about that game when it comes to that time. All right, Rod, follow me over on the X at Husker_Zeeb. Find all my stuff there. And tomorrow, Xfinity Series, Truck Series on Thursday, then back for DFS. Maybe we'll break the wheel back out, have a little bit of fun for Friday. Gonna be a fun week. Talladega, all 3 series. So let's go. We'll see you all tomorrow.
Indeed. Follow me on Twitter at RJ Villagomez. Linking about everything I've got going on, whether it's here, got some stuff coming out for Sportsbook Review. Also have the Back Road out this week with Seth and Elliott. I'll be there. Boji Joe wants to know, did UNLV have their QB? They had a QB, not the one that wanted all that money. And by the way, what a nice little way to say, I don't need you anymore by kicking someone's ass 55 to millions. And yes.
Your brother, a UNLV fan.
Oof, he is, as a matter of fact. Buddy. Yeah. So, my brother finally gets one in the can for that. All right. So anyways, link in the bottom, everything I got going on. Also a link in the bottom where you can get the shirt, Boji Joe. I will definitely have that for you as well. Special shout out to Michael Waltrip Brewing. Thank you for the Talladega Light tonight. It's Dega, baby. Everyone. Cheers. We'll see you guys tomorrow with some Xfinity picks. And until then, let's go racing and let it ride. Since broken,